What's up, folks? How's it going today? This here is a 2022 Vexus AVX 2080. Bought the boat last year. So the problem I'm having with this boat right now is the trim. So when I'm at wide open throttle, it just seemed like I'm not getting the trim that I need. Went on Bob's Machine Shop site and ordered me some 5-degree wedges. A bunch of bolts, so I went with the 3.5 stainless steel. Get quality bolts, that's why I bought them from Bob's Machine Shop. 4.5, so I just ordered a bunch of them. And this is a 2022 Mercury Pro XS 200 horsepower 4-stroke V8. So I mean, she's got plenty of hole shot. The hole shot's great. With these 5-degree wedges, I believe it ain't gonna affect my hole shot much. I'm spinning a 4-blade Bravo 1FS 22 pitch. And right now with this setup with that 4-blade prop, which is, I love it. I mean, I lost a little speed, which is okay, but the hole shot is just awesome. And she handles so good with the 4-blade. I have a 3-blade Fury prop at a 22 pitch. And it does okay. The speeds are a lot faster, get about 63, around 5,700 RPMs. Right now with the 4-blade Bravo, I'm pushing 59, 60. But with these wedges, I should be able to get, you know, a little bit over 6,000 RPMs. Maybe pick up a little bit more speed, not by much. With the 4-blade, you're going to lose speed, but I'd rather have the 4-blade because it's really controllable. It handles great in the waves. And especially when you're loaded and on the trailer at the landing, the 4-blade seems like when you're backing up, you got more control. It wants to back up better. 3-blade, it seems like it's all over the place. I can't back it up all the way right, and it's just the nose is moving around. But with that 4-blade, it's pretty quick. It backs up, and then I can get her straight, put her right on the trailer, no problem. But anyways, I went with these 5-degree wedges from Bob's Machine Shop for a reason, because I trust their product. So here's another thing. When you're online, if you ever see there's other wedges out there. Some of them just have adjustable slots for your bolts. I don't know if I really trust it if they're just adjustables like this. If you were to tighten them and later on down the road, the mounting bolts happen to come loose, I could see the wedges sliding, and then that could be a bad thing. So it's good to have a fixed bolt hole so it stays in position. But I will be utilizing these adjustable slots here. So I'll have the thick end facing down. The motor's going to kick out at 5 degrees a little bit. I'm going to put 3 bolts on each side. Right now there's 2. I'm going to do 3. 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom. I have my motor mounted on the first hole from the top, which I'm trying to keep the motor lower in the water because for some reason this boat likes the motor lower in the water. I had it up, the jack blade up pretty high, and it just didn't go very well. But I'll be setting them in like this down here. But the thing you got to look at, when they have 2 sides, I mean, they can go different angles. So here's a 90-degree point here, a 90-degree angle here. So if you flip it and you look here, that ain't a 90-degree angle. So what I'm saying is you can use both ends, sides, whatever. Just pick an angle on which side is going to be facing out. Make sure everything lines up. Keep them both the same. But I'm putting the 90-degree side angle out. That's how I'm going to do it. But so I'll just make sure it's, because otherwise one will go this way and one will be straight across. So just keep them in sync. So I will be installing these. Also, I got the 5-degree wedge washers from Bob's Machine Shop, and those will be going on the outside. You want to keep these nuts on the bolt from the motor mount there, you know, flush, you know, the surface. You don't want it at an angle like that without wedges, otherwise you're just getting more pressure point on this side instead of here, and those could come loose. You don't want that to happen. So you just get all the hardware that is needed. Don't cheap out on cheap bolts. Get good quality bolts and 5-degree wedges, washers, and the good wedges. These are solid, very durable wedges. So, and another thing is 3/4 inch socket, 1/2 inch drive, that's what I'm using, 3/4 inch wrench, and of course, big old boy, the torque wrench. And I'm going to crank these down at 90 foot-pounds of torque from motor to jack plate. Now, if you didn't have a jack plate and you were just gonna mount the wedges to the transom, 55 foot-pounds of torque. And I got a motor hoist, pretty good size one that goes all the way up to 2,200 pounds. Right now I got set at 1,100 pounds. And a 2-foot chain, which I have here, with some good hooks. Make sure, you know, this is a strong chain. If this breaks, then we got a problem. So I did put a piece of a 2x4 block or whatever, 2x6 down on the bottom below the skeg, just in case something happens, it drops a little bit. I don't want the skeg hitting concrete. So what I'm gonna do is get this all set up. Got some hook points here for hoist. I'll get those in there, set that up. And I'm just gonna leave the motor where it's at. Keep the motor somewhat straight. Got little holes here. Just make sure the hooks and stuff ain't gonna be pulling on anything, any cords. And then crank her up just a little bit. Get her ball, you know, just put some tension on there. The motor is gonna kind of swing a little bit, so it looks pretty good there. Just gonna kind of hold it there. And if I crank too much, right now I got the straps off the back of the transom here. I could actually pick up the whole bolt if I want, but I'm not gonna do that. Just put a little tension on there, make sure it's gonna hold. Get the bottom bolts off, because that way it's easier. The thick end's going down for positive trim. And if you put the thick end up to the top, that'll bring it to negative trim, which I don't need because I get great hole shot the way it is. I'm gonna bring that motor this way a little bit more, you know, tilt it back, so I get a little better bow lift and still get them RPMs. Try to avoid too much prop slip, otherwise, I mean, you'll get the RPMs, but you'll lose speed if you get too much slip on your prop. So I got the bottom bolts loose, okay? I am gonna leave one bolt in, which will be on this side first, since the trim switch is over on that side. So I'll start with the wedges over there, get all the bolts in there set. I got this forward more, so the chain's kind of angled this way a little bit more. That way it's putting a little more pressure this towards the front. Don't have it back too far, otherwise the motor will swing away from you. That's why I'm just gonna leave one bolt in. Just give me enough to do some shimmying. I might just take it off. I don't know. It seems like it's doing all right, so it's staying where it needs to be. So I'll leave that just bolted right there. It's not hard to do. If you can turn the wrench, change oil, you can do this. No problem. Now I'm gonna set it down on the block a little bit so I can bring that trim housing back, so I can get the wedge under there, which is perfect right now. And then I'm gonna try to hold this, because I'm gonna crank her up a little bit more so I can get the darn bolt off. Okay, now I'm loose. I'm using 3 bolts on each side. I had to buy an extra package of 5-degree washers because they only come in 4, and I'm going to use 3 bolts, so that way, you know, I'll be using a couple out of there. So I'll be getting those set right now, getting everything where it needs to be. So I got 2 3.5s I'll be using here. Breaker loose. Okay, so I have the lock washer, I'll put that on the inside. I got that 90-degree angle here, and then this one isn't really a 90-degree angle. So on this side facing out, just because you can have them both ways, but I'm just doing that. So I'll be using these 2 bolt holes and this one down here, because I can't get this one here because otherwise it'll be too high up, and then this bracket here is not going to fit because I got the motor on the first hole on the top here, and then I'll be utilizing the 3rd hole from the top for 2 bolts here, and then the one down here, which is going to go right there. So I'll get these started to where I need it. I have to come up a little bit more. So this is the fun part, trying to get everything up. That's when you another friend would be helpful. All right. Okay. There we go. Perfect. 3.5. Perfect. Put the wedge washer so it's where it needs to be straight. So make sure when you get those, the wedge washers, make sure they're the direction they need to be in. So it sits, so the nut sits flat. So if you have them upside down or something like that, so now you're gonna have a gap. So you want to keep them straight so the nut stays true and flat. Now I'll put the other one in there. Something to be going with that hole. Try to find that hole. Oh yeah, she goes all the way through. Put the regular washer in it. Put the 5-degree washer in it. She's got some length on the bottom, which is okay. No big deal. Now, we'll come to the other side. Take your time. Don't rush yourself. And then I'll put that 3rd bolt in down here, because there's another hole right down there for that, just for added security. Okay, she's off. 90-degree angle out. Watch your fingers. So I'm gonna lift the motor up a little bit, slide that bolt right in, pinch it with my fingers to hold it. It ain't gonna go nowhere. And then the 5-degree, get it to where it needs to be, close enough. When I tighten everything down, you want at least about a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch thread showing when you get them tight. And find that other bolt hole there. Boom! Put the regular washer in, then your 5-degree washer. Put the nut on there, the nylon nut. Brass nylon nut. I won't use stainless steel on stainless steel ever. Ever. Now I gotta make sure those washers, those 5-degree wedges, are where they need to be. And it spun on me. See, now it's not. So you gotta make sure those wedge washers stay in their area there. And try to hold it on there. I'm just gonna get it tightened down. And that's perfect. I had to turn this bolt inside because on these slide masters, the slide where it screws onto and the plate on the inside, I couldn't get the bolt to go in there. I'd have to take that all off, which I'm not gonna do, so I just turned it around, went this way. And then one nut out, one nut in. That's how I did it. Because I can't get through it. If you had a different jack plate, like TH Marine or the Boz Machine Shop, you'll be able to get it both going out this way. Okay, So I will be torquing bolts down, the mounting bolts, 90 foot-pounds of torque. So something you want to keep a note on. So if you turn it to that point, you got to keep an eye on the 5-degree washer, because it could start spinning, and then it starts spinning, it doesn't sit properly to the nut, and then you'll see a little gap because it's not, you know, sitting flat like it should with the 5-degree wedge. So you got to make sure the thick side on the washer is up and the thin side is down, and then keep it in that area. So I basically took another ratchet. It's good to have a buddy, so I would go in here like this, set myself up, and then hold it really tight so it doesn't spin, and just give it a little click. You can do it by yourself, but the hard part's getting down under here, and then that third bolt, or that second bolt from the top there, a third hole from the top, it's a pain in the butt if you have a Slide Master manual jack plate, because there's that little plate back here and it's hard to get a socket in there. If you can get a buddy and they get under there and hold this wrench while you tighten it, it's gonna be money. As long as they hold it, just kind of watch the washers. That's all you gotta do, the 5-degree washers. You don't want them to turn on you too much where you get a gap. You want them to sit flat with the nut. That way you don't have any open gaps where the nut is only tight on one part of the washer, because then it's not really getting the full effect to keeping the tightness of it. You don't want the bolt coming loose. But that's why I have three bolts here, so I'll show you. I wasn't gonna make a whole video of you guys watching me torquing these bolts down, but just make sure the washers are the thick side of the washer, a 5-degree washer's up. So make sure the washer's on the outside. You don't want them on the inside. It'll be a pain in the butt and trying to look down there and make sure they're straight. So keep them on the outside. I did add a double washer. You know, I added a factory washer, the flat washer with the 5-degree on the 4.5 bolts, because they're a little bit longer. Probably get away with a 4-inch bolt on the bottom is plenty. But I just ordered the 4.5. I should have just went with the 4. 4 would have been fine. It would have left you about a 1/2 inch. An old 1/2 inch thread, which is good. I got about a 1/4 inch thread sticking out here. Pretty flushed up in there with the thread on the inside, but that's just this third bolt, that's just, added security. But you could get away with just 4, but I'm going 3 on each side just because the wedges, and that, the wedge shouldn't move. Everything's tight. So I will be heading out to the lake and playing around with it. I'll probably do a little videos on that separately for the RPMs and stuff like that. Other than that, everything's tight. She's good. I can let this come down a little. Don't need that anymore because it's on there good. Boom, just like that. So 2-foot chain is all I had. And then these, you could buy these hooks. Don't go too big because you got hoses and stuff here. Just, big enough to get in the little mounting loops here on the engine. Run it for a couple weeks. Check it again, just make sure nothing come loose. Just to double check my work. I'm pretty confident I did a good job. So it was a pain in the butt. You're gonna do a little more work trying to bouncing around. So, I mean, if you just take your time, if you do it on your own, you'll be fine. Tilt the motor up. That's another thing, I didn't want to go too low with the motor. I mean, I got the motor set pretty good where I want it, because the elbows right here for the hydraulic steering line, there's a 90-degree elbows here. If I go way too low with the jack plate, these elbows will hit the top cap of the transom. So that's another thing you gotta remember if you do bring down your manual jack plate. But if you have a hydraulic jack plate, you'll be good. So It is a lot closer. It's not hitting, so that's another thing you got to watch out for. I'm 2 inches from the top part of here for that measurement, so I'm 2 inches. If I go any lower than that, I'm hitting these elbows are going to hit the top cap of the transom. So 2 inches where I'm at right now, I can't go down anymore on the jack plate. But if I'm probably going to put a hydraulic jack plate on this winter. I'll buy one and pull this off again and put a jack plate on. Just torque them down to 90 foot-pounds of torque. Keep everything in line. Buy all the necessary hardware. Don't cheap out on bolts. Don't buy no cheap bolts. And then you should be golden. Peace. Have a great day.